Let us continue to discuss few points in a main accounts. So let me go to the system. I think we have created a totals, right? So for expense and revenue, I did not create it. So let me quickly create for a expense also. 3,99,000. So this should be total. Click on totals. So that is done. Let me create for a revenue also 4,99,000. Okay. So this is how we can create a main account. So what will happen, like I have not created multiple accounts. For sample purpose, I just created a few accounts. If you see, I have only very less number of accounts has been created in the system. Going forward, whenever I required any ledger accounts and all, I will come to this form and I will create it based upon our requirement and all. But in real time, what will happen, in the initial stage itself, you will get a list of main accounts which has to be created in the system. The client will tell you what are the accounts they required in the system. So they will give all this information, like what is the account name. They will not give the numbers. Okay, numbers we need to decide the numbers. So they will only give the account name, what is the account type, what is the use of that account, that kind of information they will give it to us. So by seeing that information, you have to identify on which account category this will come and what is the number you need to assign. So this kind of thinking you have to have it during the accounts doing. So once you get a list of accounts, you have to create manually, or there is another option also. See, if I have a very less number of accounts, I can create it manually. If I have 1,000 or 2,000 of accounts, how can I do it manually? It's very difficult, right? I can't do it manually for each account. So when you are doing an implementation and if you have a lot of accounts to be created in the system, there is another technique which we will be using it. So that is called as a data management import and export. Okay, so regarding that topic we'll discuss in a later stages. So in a data management, here I will show you quickly. Under a workspaces, it will be available. It's not a module. Okay, it's some kind of activity. If you can see here, data management, here we have to have some kind of export project. So for a chart of accounts or for main accounts, there will be some kind of project which is created by the Microsoft. Okay, so by using that project, first of all, you should take the template. Hope everyone knows the template, right? Template is nothing but some kind of sample table, you need to fetch it from the system, and in the same page you need to fill all your details of your 1000 main accounts, and you have to import back into the system. That is a process which we will be doing in our real-time implementation project. In implementation project, we will not create accounts manually. Please try to remember. In a support project, if required, like in support project, what will happen? Already main accounts will be available. There are 1 or 2 requirements. They will ask us to create 2 to 3, 4, 4 to 5 main accounts. At that time, we can use a manual option. But if it is a bulk of main accounts, then you should use a data management, and there is a project called as a main account related something, and you have to take the template from the system first and fill the details in the Excel sheet, and again put it back to the system. Then you will be able to see all the information, not only for main accounts. Okay, if I have any kind of bulk records are there, we will be using a data management. Okay, now for let me open one of the account. Okay, so there are few options which I did not discuss yesterday, so let's try to discuss now. So to create a main account, these are the important fields. You got to know what are the important fields, but there are some other additional options also available. In your requirement, if you wanted to use this additional requirement, please try to understand what this field will do, so that you can make use of this option for your requirement fulfill. Okay, now, whereas my client has asked me that, Anusha, I wanted to maintain some validity for my main account. Means from so and so date to so and so date, it should end. So it has to start from January 1st, 2022 to 31st December 2022. After that, that account should not exist. Do you have any kind of option available in the system? Yes, of course we have, right? Active from, active to. From when onwards you wanted to make it as active? So please specify the date, and from when you wanted to close this account, just specify active to. If I give this kind of dates, within this date only this account will be valid. After the date of active to, the account will not be valid. See, these options mostly we will not fill it. Okay, if it is required in the client requirements, then only you have to fill it, otherwise you can ignore it. Okay, so that is the active from and active to. If you wanted to suspend this account, suspend is nothing but do not use this account at all, then you can enable this option. Okay, you can enable this option. Until now, maybe you might use this account, right? In your working and all, you might use this account, and there is some balance of 10,000 in this particular account. When you are suspending this account, what will you do with that balance? You have to transfer that balance to some other account, right? Of course you need to. So once you suspend, to which account I need to transfer this balance? So see, if you enable this, you have to select, it should be a balance, and after that you have to select which account you are going to transfer a balance of this amount. Okay, that is the use of these options. What do you mean by default currency? Default currency is nothing but whenever you are using any company, hope we have seen in the initial company creation time, we have specified your country code and your currency also, right? Like currency we did not specify, your country code we have specified, but in your requirement for a ledger account wise, you need to specify a currencies. Means for my cash account, I wanted to have a some INR currency. For bank account, I wanted to have a USD currency. Like the different currencies, if I wanted to maintain for a ledger account wise, please maintain it here. If you drop down, you will get a list of currencies here. Okay, so For example, if I give here USD, okay, here validate currency code is optional or required. So if I specify optional other than USD, when I am posting a transaction, if I use Euro or INR, system will ignore it because it's okay. Whatever currency you wanted to take it, take it. By default, it will display USD, but you can modify to some other currency and you can post it. But if you mention it as a required, other than USD, if you try to select some other currency, system will throw an error because it is a mandatorily you told that it should be a INR USD currency only. Why are you using a different currency? So that is why during a transaction posting, I'm telling, okay, if I give all the options here during the transaction, this will get impacted. So that is the use of option. So if you wanted to keep it, otherwise remove that. There is an option called as a foreign currency revaluation. What do you mean by foreign currency revaluation? So regarding this, we'll try to learn more in our future classes. But quickly, I will tell you, foreign currency revaluation is nothing but whenever I have a different currencies in my transactional level, I need to run one process so that all currency balances will get convert and it will show in a single currency. That is called as a foreign currency revaluation. So do I need to run the foreign currency revaluation for this particular account? If you wanted to run specifically account, then please enable it. Otherwise, when you are doing a process also, you can select a main account. So if you wanted to specify account wise, please specify, otherwise ignore it. Okay. There is an exchange rate type concept is there. So for any account, if you wanted to maintain exchange rate, so we'll discuss in the next session only. Exchange rate is nothing but, for example, I'm using a euro currency. I wanted to see my balance in a USD. So today, what is the exchange rate? What is the conversion rate for a euro to USD? So you know, like $1 is equal to how many INR? It is a 75 rupees or 76 rupees of INR, right? That kind of conversion you need to maintain in the system. So how to maintain and all, we'll see it. So once you maintain, you need to select that options here. Okay, for the ledger account wise particularly. This is also related to same exchange rate only. Now, there is a very, very important option which is available here. Do not allow manual entry. This question also can be asked in the interview point of view. So do not allow manual entry. What do you mean by do not allow manual entry? So if I, for this particular cash account, if I specify this is enabled, I cannot use this account for a manual entry posting. What do you mean by manual entry posting? Manual entry posting is nothing but in the general ledger module, I will be posting some kind of transactions by selecting a ledger account, cash account and bank account. Like that, manually I will select from the drop down and I will post a transaction. If I enable this button, if I enable this checkbox, I cannot select manually. It will throw an error by saying that this account is not set for a manual entry posting. Okay, this account should not select from the drop down and post it. So do not allow manual entry is nothing but whatever the account has been enabled for this kind of option, then this account will not be eligible to post a manual entries posting in the system. It has to post from the different process. What is the different process and all, we'll learn it in the next sessions and all. Please try to remember, if I enable this option, you cannot use this account manually from the drop down. See, since our configurations are not completed, we are in the second stage of doing the configuration, right? That is why I cannot show you how it will work. So in the next sessions and all, I can show you this option. Okay, so please try to remember, this is one of the important option. Okay, now main account category. Okay, if you wanted to categorize accounts as we discussed yesterday, all assets will be in some other section, liabilities, revenue, profit or loss, like that. If you wanted to categorize, you can categorize. Like if you wanted to create a new category of yours, so you have to right click, view details. One more thing I will tell you, in our application we have a very good functionality. Okay, now this is a main account category which I need to create. Usually what you will do, you have to go to again navigation path, right? You have to come to main account categories. If I click this form, this form will get closed and this new form will get opened, right? This is how you will go to the navigations. Otherwise what you will do, you will duplicate the screen and again you will go to the navigation path and you will create a main account category there and you will try to add it here, right? That is how you will do it. Two ways. One, you have to close this form and you have to open that form in the same page. Otherwise duplicate the form and you have to open in a second page. But we have a very good functionality. If you don't know where is the path also for this particular main account category creation or for any kind of any kind of form creation, from here itself you can go to that particular form. Whenever you right click on this particular option, if you can find out the view details option, that means this is a form which you can open it from here also. Click on view details. See, I can open it. Now, if I close this, only this form will get closed and my previous form will be open. See, I can able to see my previous form. See, for this also, let me right click, view details. I can see the exchange rate type form. If you wanted to create it here, please create it. In our real time, we used to do in the same way. Like we will create our things and we will close it and we will attach it. We will not use a navigation path anymore. Okay, for most of the options inside a form, we will be going to view details and creating and selecting it. So for example, for any option, if you don't find a view details, what do you mean by that? See, did I have a view details here? No. What it means? It means this is not a form. This is just an option. There is another two more options are there. Let's try to understand. Debit credit default, debit credit requirement. What do you mean by these two options? See, this all configuration, main accounts, whatever we are doing, this part will be calling as a configuration, which will be doing by the consultant. Finance consultant will do all this kind of setup, right? Okay. So once the setup is ready, end user will try to use this cash account and he will try to post a transaction. End user only knows that how to post a transaction. He don't know how to create a main account. He don't know any setup into the system. Okay, so now I have recently involved one of the end user who has just passed out his BCom. He doesn't know whether cash account will be debiting or crediting. So can anyone tell me whether cash account will be debiting or crediting? It depends upon the situation, right? Sometimes cash account is an asset account. When it coming to our hand, that will get debited. When the cash is moving out of your hand, then it will get credited. There are few accounts, the nature behavior will not get changed. For example, rent account. Rent always is an expense for me. Always it has to be debited, of course, right? Rent always it should be debited, but end user does not know rent should be debited or credited. For those kind of people, like who is not having a much knowledge into accounting, but still if they are trying to use the application, for them I wanted to give some more easiness of the application for using. What is that? If I specify debit credit default option for rent account, Sorry. See here, rent account, it is an expense for me. I have specified as a default debit. Okay, there is an option called as a drop down. I can specify credit also. I can specify blank also. Okay, if I specify blank, I'm not giving any hint to the end user. But if I specify debit, end user will understand when he is trying to post a transaction, he will get some kind of information. He will understand the cursor will go and sit into a debit column only to post to enter some kind of amount. Then he will understand, okay, I should enter amount in a debit column only for rent account. That kind of hint we are giving if it is a debit credit default. If you are keeping a debit credit requirement, this debit, okay, that means by default end user should maintain the debit only. He should not enter amount in a credit column. If he is entering into a credit column, then system will throw an error because it is a mandatorily you told it should be a debit, right? So that is why. Whereas in a debit credit default, it is a option we are telling him that you have to use a debit. That is your wish. Whether you wanted to use a debit or credit, that is your wish, but it should be debit. This is a optional validation. This is, if you maintain it here, it is a mandatory validation. If you don't specify under a debit column, whatever you mentioned here, other than this, if you are trying to enter the amount and post it, system will throw an error. That is the use of this option. Maybe if your client asked some kind of restrictions, you can inform him that these kind of options are available. In this general FASTAB, which are the options very much important? Almost all options you need to remember. Main account category, debit credit default, requirement, do not allow manual entry, active from active to, and default currency, foreign currency revaluation, exchange rate. So these are the options which are available. Just try to remember it. Okay. So quickly, let's come to, there is another option called as a posting validation. So what do you mean by posting validation? So I'm very particular about a posting of transactions by using this particular ledger account. If I'm very specific that other than I have 3 members in a company, like your user IDs will be displayed. Once you join in an organization, they will create a user ID for you, right? Your user ID will be available here. So if I specify Bindu is the person who should use this particular ledger account. Other than Bindu, no one should use it. So if I specify Bindu user ID here, maybe if I have a user ID, I can select a user ID here. See, there are in the system, we have some IDs are available. Other than that user ID, if anyone is trying to use this particular main account, system will throw an error. That is a use of validation. Okay, so only whoever is tagged here, that person only is eligible to post the transaction. If you specify after tagging the person Bindu ID, then I have to maintain it as a required. Other than Bindu, whoever is trying to use this account, it will not work out. If it is optional, after tagging a name, if you are putting as optional, that means it will not validate anything. It will ask Bindu should be, but if other person Shravan is also using the account and all, it will not throw any error. That is a use of optional and all. There is a posting type concept. What do you mean? Very important. Okay, posting type. What do you mean by posting type in the system? So posting type is nothing but for any kind of module, I wanted to differentiate. When I say general ledger module, some kind of options are very specific. Accounts payable module, few options are specific. Accounts receivable, other few options are specific. So to differentiate the module and the transactions, I should have some unique posting type. That is called as a posting type. Some kind of unique identification is required to differentiate the transactions. When I say sales tax, this particular ledger account belongs to sales tax. When I say this account belongs to allocation, it is allocation. Different transaction, right? Sales tax is a different, allocation is a different, investment tax is a different, year-end is a different, like that. So if you wanted to differentiate the transactions, then you have to use a posting type. That is the use of posting type. Okay, if after giving a posting type, if you wanted to make it as a validation mandatorily, please keep it as a required. Otherwise, keep it as a optional and all. There is another option here, financial reporting. Hope most of the people heard about management reporting. There is another concept called as a management reporting. Whenever you wanted to activate your ledger account for your management reporting, you have to add a exchange rates for your management reporter. So otherwise you can ignore it. That's all about the main account. Hope it is clear. Since chart of accounts, main account is very much important. That's why we have spent some extra time and we wanted to learn this information. In maybe in the interview point of view, they may not ask you how many fields are available in main account. You no like you no need to tell there is a main account number, name, main account type, like that. You no need to explain this all options, but they will specifically ask you what is the option will do when you are talking about a do not manual entry. What are the main account types are available? Okay, so maybe what is a posting type? These kind of questions can be asked from the interview point of view. Okay, now can anyone tell me what is the step 1 we did in the general ledger module? Yesterday we have created a step 1, right? What is that? Please try to make your own notes as well, so that it will be helpful when you are practicing the scenarios and all. Step 2 is main accounts. Yes, inside that we have seen main account type, categories and all. Okay,